After a decade of being excluded from family gatherings, they finally showed up at my new home. The moment they stepped inside, their expressions froze. What I said next, a calculated act of retribution, left them silent. But the real surprise came when I unveiled a truth that shattered their perception of me and unraveled everything they believed about our history. Hey Reddit, this is a tale of disloyalty, the resilience to stand alone, and the moment everything came full circle. 10 years ago, I sat on the steps of my childhood house, watching my parents and siblings share laughter and warmth while I was left out of the family dinner. I hadn't done anything wrong, no betrayal, no conflict, no fault. I simply didn't match their definition of achievement. While my older brother Derek earned a law degree and my younger sister Lila was the family's pride pursuing a medical career, I took a different path. I became a woodworker. I loved the craft, the scent of fresh timber, the fulfillment of creating something tangible. To them, though, I was the disappointment they avoided mentioning at gatherings. It started subtly. Late invites, overlooked birthdays, sly remarks about my choices. Then one year they held the family reunion without even telling me. I only found out through a social media post my cousin mistakenly tagged me in. When I called my mom to ask why, she sighed and said, "We thought you'd be too busy or uneasy." Uneasy. I was their son, their brother. Yet suddenly I was an outsider. I tried to let it go, wondering if they were right, if I was the misfit. But it kept happening, year after year. Photos shared online, group chats I was dropped from, weddings I wasn't invited to. I stopped reaching out. They didn't care. I relocated to a small town 2 hours away, where no one knew me as the outcast. I threw myself into my woodworking business, and slowly things began to change. It wasn't instant. I lived simply, crafting custom furniture and taking on repair jobs. Then a local innkeeper hired me to design and build unique, high-end interiors. My work gained traction, features in magazines, social media buzz, even a brief TV appearance. Within 3 years, I wasn't just getting by. I was flourishing. I purchased a piece of land and constructed my ideal home from scratch. Every plank, every surface, every detail was my creation. I never contacted my family during those years, not out of spite, but self-preservation. I noticed their reactions, though. They started liking my business posts, leaving vague comments like, "So proud," as if that could mend a decade of rejection. I didn't reply. Then, 2 months before the holidays, Derek messaged me out of nowhere. "Hey, Mom's wondering if you could host the family reunion this year. Your place looks stunning." I stared at the message, stunned. After 10 years of silence, after they'd cut me out like a flaw, they wanted to use my home as their stage? No apology, no acknowledgement of the past, just a casual ask, as if nothing had happened. I didn't respond. Instead, I planned something else. On Christmas Eve, as dusk settled, I illuminated the towering handcrafted tree in my living room, prepared my grandmother's Old Spice bread recipe, and set the table with elegant silverware. I invited one guest, Mr. Ellis, my late grandfather's closest friend, the only person who treated me like family when no one else did. We sat, shared a meal, and swapped stories from years gone by. It was calm, serene. Then a knock at the door. I opened it to find my entire family, my parents, Derek, Lila, their partners, even cousins, standing there with fake smiles and a store-bought dessert. Lila spoke first. "Wow, your home is amazing." Derek added, "Didn't know woodworking paid this well, huh?" My mom scanned the space, her eyes moving from the carved pillars to the gleaming walnut floors. "You've done well, sweetheart. We were thinking we could all spend the evening here like old times." I didn't waver. There were no old times for me. Remember, I was never included. My father coughed awkwardly. "Let's not focus on the past. Tonight's about family." I stepped aside, letting them see the cozy glow of the living room, the crackling fire, the laughter between me and Mr. Ellis drifting out. Then I spoke, calm but firm. "You're not staying. You shut me out for 10 years. No calls, no visits. You turned away when I needed you most. Now you see what I've built and suddenly I'm worth something? Number tonight is for those who stayed, not those who show up when it suits them. Their faces drained of color. Derek tried to speak, but nothing came out. Lila looked away, uneasy. My father gave a stiff nod, almost ashamed. I went on. You didn't lose me because of my job. You lost me because you made me feel worthless. And now it's too late. I closed the door, not in anger, but with calm resolve. Inside, Mr. Ellis raised his glass. To true family. I smiled and raised mine. To building something real. The silence after I shut the door didn't weigh on me. It liberated me. For the first time in years, I had voiced everything I'd buried. I didn't yell or make a scene. I simply held up a mirror and let them see what they'd chosen to overlook. They didn't take it well. The next morning, my phone was flooded with missed calls, texts, and emails. My mother left a voicemail, her tone wavering between anger and guilt. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but this isn't how family behaves. You don't shut out your own blood. I didn't reply. Then came the blame shifting. Lila sent a long message about how families make mistakes and cutting them off is just as cruel as being left out. Derek chimed in with his usual deflection. You always took things too seriously. That's why we didn't include you. It was simpler that way. Simpler for them. They weren't seeking reconnection. They were trying to rewrite the past without owning it. What they really wanted wasn't me. It was the image, the success they could now claim. The handcrafted home, the local recognition. Their outcast had become a success, and now they wanted to pretend they'd supported me all along. I wasn't playing their game. The real backlash began when Lila posted a cryptic message online. When family shuts you out after you try to make things right, the hurt is deep. Cue the sympathetic comments from friends who didn't know the truth. I ignored it until my aunt, who had stayed on the sidelines for years, messaged me privately. I saw Lila's post and I'm not jumping to conclusions, but for what it's worth, you were right to speak your truth. That message hit me hard. For a moment, I questioned myself. Had I gone too far? Had I become like them? But then I remembered the countless birthdays spent alone, the unanswered messages, the years they acted like I didn't exist. I wasn't angry. I was just done carrying their burden. Instead of getting pulled back into their drama, I focused on the life I'd created. My business was thriving more than ever. I was booked months ahead, and local media started reaching out for interviews. Not because I sought attention, but because my work stood out. I began mentoring young people in town who'd been told they weren't good enough for traditional paths. I saw myself in them, quiet, underestimated, driven. They became my new family, not by blood, but by choice. Meanwhile, my biological family kept spiraling. Lila posted another veiled jab online about selfish siblings. Derek sent a long email, positioning himself as the peacemaker who'd always tried to include me. My mother mailed a holiday card with a handwritten note. Come back when you're ready to be family again. But I was already home. I'd built it myself. The biggest shift came one evening when I got an unexpected visitor. Not them, but someone I hadn't seen in over 15 years. My cousin Sarah. She looked worn but genuine. She didn't come with a rehearsed apology, but with honesty. I was there, she said softly. All those years I saw how they treated you, and I stayed silent. I regret it. We talked for hours. She shared how uneasy it made her when they erased me from conversations, how she once tried to speak up and was told to drop it. He's choosing to isolate himself, they'd said. She believed it, until she didn't. I just want you to know you weren't imagining it, she said. You weren't wrong, and I'm sorry I didn't stand by you. It didn't fix everything, but it mattered. It showed me I hadn't been alone. Someone had seen the truth, even if they hadn't spoken it then. In the months that followed, I kept growing, personally, professionally, emotionally. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I was just living my life. But then came a twist I hadn't anticipated. One evening in early spring, I received a formal, stamped letter. My heart sank as I opened it. My father had passed away. It wasn't sudden. He'd been sick for a while, though no one had told me. The letter wasn't from my family, it was from his lawyer. My name was included because he'd left me something. Not money or property, but a journal. Inside was my father's handwriting, rigid and faded, but unmistakably his. What I read in those pages upended everything I thought I knew about our relationship and set the stage for the story's final chapter. I held the journal for nearly an hour before opening it. It was worn, leather-bound, and marked by years. My father's name was written inside the cover, along with a single date, October 2008, the year our family began to fracture. As I read, I realized this wasn't just a diary, it was a confession. Page after page, he detailed the flaws in our family, the pressure to uphold a flawless image, the successful parents, the high-achieving children, the facade of togetherness. He admitted that when I chose woodworking over college, he panicked, not out of disdain, but fear. "I didn't know how to stand up for you," one entry read. "I thought if I pushed you away, you'd come back on our terms. I was wrong. Every time I left you out, I broke something in myself too." His words carried pain, regret, but also weakness. He'd chosen silence over love, appearances over truth, and carried that guilt to his death. The final entry hit hardest. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I have no right to ask anything of you, but I left this for you because you deserve to be seen. You deserve better, and you deserve to choose what comes next." That line stayed with me for days. I didn't attend the funeral. Lila posted polished black and white photos of it online, crying in elegant sunglasses, Derek speaking solemnly at the podium. It was a performance, and I wanted no part of it. But I made a choice. A week later, I sent a handwritten letter to my mother's house, enclosing a copy of my father's final journal entry. No commentary, no accusations, just his truth, hidden for years. Below it, I wrote one line. "You erased me for a decade. Let this remind you I was always here. You just didn't look." That should have been the end, but life rarely offers tidy resolutions. 2 months later, Lila showed up at my workshop unannounced. "I read it," she said quietly. I looked up from the table I was sanding. "And?" I didn't know he felt that way. I set my tool down and stood. "Does it change how you feel?" She paused, and her silence spoke volumes. "I'm not here for forgiveness," she said. "I'm here because I think he wanted us to stop pretending. I don't want to keep up the act. You have every right to hate me, but I'm not here to rewrite the past. I just want to be honest." And she was. She spoke of her envy, how my freedom made her feel trapped by expectations, how my absence stirred guilt they buried with indifference, how my success felt like a challenge rather than a source of pride. She owned it all. I didn't embrace her or break down. I listened. When she finished, I said, "Thank you for the truth. It doesn't undo the past, but it means we can stop pretending it didn't happen." She nodded. "That's enough for me." We didn't grow close after that, but we became honest, which was more than I'd ever hoped for. Derek never reached out, not even after the journal. He stayed silent, guarding his pride. I didn't seek closure from him. Some people only learn through loss when they've nothing left to hold on to. I'd already moved forward. The true closing note came the following Christmas. My home was filled, not with my blood family, but with those who'd become my true circle. Mr. Ellis, Sarah, the young apprentices I mentored, and neighbors who felt like kin. We laughed, ate, and shared stories. In a quiet moment, I stood by the fire, looking at the home I'd built myself. I didn't say it aloud, but I thought it. I wasn't the outcast. I was just the first to step away from the crowd. In doing so, I found something greater than approval. I found peace. I didn't need their acceptance, their apologies, or their validation. I'd built a life surrounded by people who saw me for who I was. When the moment came, I didn't need to raise my voice. I simply showed them what they'd discarded. That was my justice, and it was enough. If this story resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more compelling true-life tales. Until next time, stay resilient, stay authentic.